Hello students, I hope you are doing good and welcome back to today's chemistry class. In the last class, we have been talking about the dual nature of matter and we have already solved few of the problems. So dual nature of matter, wherein we have studied that de Broglie gives an equation wherein if a photon has a wavelength and its own frequency, then the electron must be having the wavelengths. That is, it should be behaving like a wave as well as a particle. Right? So mostly we are focusing on the wave nature of electrons. Okay? In today's class, we will study another concept which led to the quantum mechanical model or which led to the development of quantum mechanical model. So in the last class we have studied one which is dual nature of matter or dual behavior of matter. And in today's class, let us study another principle which is very important, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Now, Heisenberg, okay, he is a physicist in around 1929. He gives a principle as a word says uncertainty. Uncertainty in the sense there is no exact value. There is a problem or there is something wrong, uncertainty principle, right? So, he gives an expression. So, first let me tell you the expression and then continue with what exactly it means. So, he gives an expression wherein delta x into delta px, okay, is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. Now, this similar equation you must have seen it before somewhere, right? In the Bohr's atomic model. So, recalling about Bohr, the Bohr's atomic model, the electrons revolve round in fixed circular orbits, that's how it goes, and the angular momentum or that rotational motion is equal to nh by 2 pi. So, that's how the equation is given. But when we compare it to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, here he gives that delta x, which means the position of a particle, the exact position of a particle, and delta px, which is momentum, which you have studied in de Broglie's equation. So momentum is p and delta x is a position or the displacement or the change in position. So that's why it's given as delta. So delta x into delta px is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. So it must be greater than or equal to this value. Okay. Now, h by 4 pi in the sense here h is Planck's constant and that's a constant. 4 pi. 4 pi is the constant value. Now, when we know what's momentum here, what's momentum? Mass into velocity of a particle. So, delta x into delta is taken out and you substitute it as mdx, where momentum is mass into velocity, which will be greater than or equal to h by 4 pi, or you can also rearrange it as you can take the mass m because mass of a particle is said to be constant, right? So mass is taken this side and we write delta x, which is the position of a particle, and delta bx, which is the velocity, or totally the momentum is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi m. So m comes here. So this is what he gives the equation. Let me explain it to you. Delta x, imagine in the Bohr's atomic model, if the electron is moving in the fixed circular orbits, okay, the path where the electron moves is orbits or discrete orbits we say. Now when the electron is keeping on moving according to Bohr, Heisenberg says that if there is a particle, okay, in an atom or the electron in an atom, it is difficult for us or it is not possible to determine the position and the velocity of that particle simultaneously. You know, you have to check the position also and you have to check the velocity also together simultaneously. So he says that it is not possible or it is difficult to determine the position and the velocity of an electron simultaneously. Okay, let us talk about this concept right now. If we have to check the position, okay, now imagine if we try substituting particle or an electron, then in a very precise way, very accurate way, okay, you're getting the value. But what about the other value, the velocity? If you're just checking the position value, the velocity value would be, you know, very uncertain. It can be wrong. You cannot find it together simultaneously. If you're checking the velocity, then the position value would be wrong. So uncertainty in the sense, if position is being determined with very high accuracy, then the uncertainty or the velocity value would be so largely uncertain. If you are checking out the velocity, then the position value would be uncertain. So it gives a blurred picture to us. If one is proper, then the other is not. So he says that uncertainty, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle says that it is difficult for us to determine the position as well as the velocity of a particle simultaneously or together. So if you are talking about this concept, in order to determine a position or the velocity, what do? We have to see it. How do we see it? By passing the light. Now, if the light is being passed through a macroscopic object, okay, the objects which have larger masses. If we try passing the light towards the macroscopic particles, macro means bigger, okay. So if we try passing the light, what actually happens here? The photons, when they hit the object, they scatter the light and the reflected light falls onto our eye. That's what happens. But if you try passing the light through a macroscopic particles, what happens? There is no much change in the position or the velocity. Light will pass on, but if you are talking about bigger objects, then there is no change in position and velocity, right? But if you go to the microscopic particles, like if you go deeper into microscopic particles like electrons or subatomic particles, now when the light is being passed through it, what happens? There is change in its position. The photon can kick the electron. It has so much energy so that it can kick the electron, and then what happens? There is change in position also, and due to this change in position, there is change in velocity too, or there is change in speed. So that's what it says. So when the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is applied to microscopic particles, it is difficult for us to determine the position as well as the velocity of the particle simultaneously. So this is what it behaves like. So classical mechanics, that is, which I told you, that the study of motion is being done with respect to macroscopic particles, but all these, that is quantum mechanics, which we will be going to study later on, it is based on the microscopic particles. We are only talking about the microscopic level. So microscopic particles like electrons, there is change in position and velocity, and it is difficult for us to determine both of them simultaneously. So that's what Heisenberg's uncertainty principle says. Hope this is clear. So it is difficult to determine the position as well as the velocity of a particle simultaneously, especially the macroscopic particles, microscopic particles. So when the light is being passed, they can change the position of the electrons, and then there is change in position also, there is change in velocity, and hence it is difficult for us to determine it simultaneously. So this is what Heisenberg said. Now, what is the main significance of this principle? How is it used up? What difference does it make from the Bohr's atomic model? Okay, so that's what we are going to check. So it rules out the well-defined orbits or trajectories given by Bohr. Now, well-defined orbits, so this was told by Bohr, saying that the electrons revolve around in the fixed orbits. Or the trajectories, trajectory in the sense that is path which is created, or the motion which is being created, the path which is created due to the motion of an electron around the nucleus. So this is what is trajectory or well-defined orbits. It's one and the same. Now, if we are talking about the motion of the particle or the electron around the nucleus of an atom, then talking about motion is another concept. Without understanding the position and the velocity of an electron, how can we even talk about the motion, right? Or the trajectory, or the well-defined orbits, how the electrons travel in well-defined orbits with fixed energies. No, it is not possible for us. If we can't find out the position as well as the velocity, where is the electron actually present in the atom, if we cannot find that, then how can we talk about the movement of the electrons or the motion of the electrons inside an atom? So this was his question. So hence it totally ruled out Bohr's model of an atom just because he gave this uncertainty principle. Interesting, right? Okay. So cannot determine. So that is what he says. If it is moving, or when we talk about the circular motion, if the electron's position or the velocity is not known, how can we give the well-defined orbits or the motion of electrons? So that's what was told by him. It's not the problem or that we don't have well-defined techniques or some methods to be used to identify the position of and the motion of electrons. Okay, it is not because of that. It is the fundamental limitation of nature. Okay, that's why we say it is the uncertainty. It is like that in nature. It is not because of some instruments which you don't have in order to find out the position and the velocity of an electron. It is the fundamental limitation of nature, and that's why he says it is the uncertainty. Okay, so we cannot say that, just like how Bohr said that electrons move in circular orbits or fixed circular orbits. No, it is not like that. The term has to be specified in a different way. Okay, the theory what he had given, it has to be modified and some other term has to be given in order to understand the position and the velocity of an electron, or the concept of finding an electron in the atom. Okay, so instead of precise statements like position and momentum, when we are talking about position, momentum, or the motion of an electron around the nucleus, it is better to use the term probability. Probability in the sense there is chance of finding this electron in that particular space inside an atom. Now if the electron is present somewhere, okay, there is high chance in this space that we can find the electron in an atom. So that is what he means. It is not fixed orbit, it is not moving in fixed orbit and it does not have any fixed energy. Instead, there must be some space where there is high chance of finding an electron inside an atom. So the probability term has to be used. There is highly probable chance that we can find an electron in that particular space of an atom. So this is what the quantum mechanical model talks about, the probability of finding an electron. Okay, and hence it was named as the orbitals. Okay, there is high chance of finding an electron. Electron can be here. So this idea was given or obtained from Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, okay, wherein they almost focus on the dual nature of matter, that is particle and the wave nature. So this was a consequence of this dual nature of matter, which is nothing but Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So this gives a new step, okay, or a new concept which leads to the quantum mechanical model of an atom. Let us try solving a problem before we get into quantum mechanical model of an atom. Okay. So let us analyze a question. A microscope using photons. Okay, there is a microscope which uses photons. Is employed to locate an electron in an atom. It is employed to locate an electron through. Now what we have to do is, through a microscope we have to locate an electron within a distance of 0.1 angstrom. Now distance in the sense there is change in the position, right? Or we say there is delta x is given here. Distance or the position. What is the uncertainty involved in the measurement of its velocity? Now as we know, uncertainty principle, the expression is given as delta x into delta p, which is the momentum, is equal to or greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. Let us take it as equal to, as we can precisely note the position. Okay. So here delta x into delta p is equal to h by 4 pi. Let us take that as the expression for our calculation. Now, as we know, delta x is being given. What we have to find out, what is the uncertainty involved in the measurement of its velocity. So we have to find out the velocity. Velocity, we can get the expression from the momentum, right? So what is momentum? So here we write delta x into, here it would be mass of an electron, right? To locate an electron. So mass is constant. What's the mass of an electron? It is 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. So this is a constant. So that's how you write the velocity or the momentum is equal to h by 4 pi. Right? Now what we have to do? We have to calculate delta V, so we get all these terms to the other side, right hand side. So this will be delta V is equal to h by 4 pi into delta x. So this comes here to the denominator and you have m into m. Right? So let us substitute the values now. So how will you do it? Here you have 6.626, which is a Planck's constant, 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule seconds divided by, what is there next? 4 into pi. Pi value is 3.14. So 4 into 3.14 into delta x. What is the given here? Position or the distance. 0.1 angstrom. Angstrom in the sense it is 10 to the power minus 10 meters. So 0.1 into 10 to the power minus 10 meter. And then what is left out? Mass of an electron. How much is it? 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31. Which is kg. Right. So you have to simplify this. 4 into 3.14 into 0.1 into 9.1, all these you multiply and then divide it by 6.626. So we get the answer as, I write it here, 0.579 into 10 to the power 7 meter per second. So if you are getting this side, so 5.7 into 10 to the power 6 meter per second. Or you can give it like this. Velocity is given as meter per second, so that's what the unit is. You try simplifying this, okay, and then divide it by 6.626. So that would be your work, okay. So this is how you will solve sums regarding the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So the questions would be asked to find the uncertainty in velocity, sometimes uncertainty in the position. So such questions you should know Heisenberg's uncertainty principle should be applied to it. Okay. So moving on to quantum mechanical model of an atom, which was the result of the dual nature of matter as well as the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, getting the ideas of these wave and the particle nature of the particles or the subatomic particles or the microscopic particles, the quantum mechanical model was introduced. So this was given by Schrödinger as well as Heisenberg. So these two were the scientists who gave the quantum mechanical model of an atom. Okay, mainly Schrödinger. So whatever mathematical expression he gives, it is called the Schrödinger wave equation. Let me talk about it. Okay. Now the quantum mechanics or this quantum mechanical model of an atom, this study, it is a theoretical study. It is based on theories, okay, especially with mathematical expressions and finding out the solutions. So mainly the study of motions of these microscopic particles. Motions of these microscopic particles was not studied in the classical mechanics. Motions of macroscopic particles were studied in classical mechanics, and there was ignorance of this dual nature of matter in classical mechanics. But quantum mechanical model takes into fact that the dual nature of matter should be considered. One is wave nature and the particle nature of matter should be considered, and also it studies the motion of the microscopic particles. It explains about the study of motions of microscopic particles. So here they talk about wave as well as the particle nature of matter. Now this quantum mechanical model is actually made up of different formulas, different expressions, and solving the problems at a very high range. Okay, so we will not go deep into this because later we will be studying it in physics 2 in detail, okay, in your higher classes. But for now, in a simpler way, let me just explain it to you. So Schrödinger, in order to solve or find out the wave nature of these microscopic particles, he gives an expression saying it is h psi, the symbol is psi, okay, is equal to E psi, where psi is the amplitude wave, or we call it as a wave function. Okay, wave function, or psi is the amplitude of the wave. Then what must be E? It must be energy of the particle or energy of the electron. What we are considering after Bose is the energy of an electron, and H is the Hamiltonian operator. Now Hamiltonian operators are usually denoted with this, inverted B symbol onto the top of it. So here this operators means that it is like a mathematical, command. You are giving a command so as to how we can solve this expression. Maybe it is based on multiplication. So here Hamiltonian would be multiplication. If it is addition, then you write it as addition. So based on what kind of operation are you doing to solve the expression, that is usually the operators. So H is the Hamiltonian operator. Okay. So this is what he gives the expression as Schrodinger wave equation. Actually, this in a complicated way it is written, but for you right now you know this expression. H psi is equal to E psi. So when you try solving this for an electron or for a microscopic particles, whatever solutions you get, okay, they are the wave functions usually, and you get the values of psi as well as the energy, the amplitude of the wave and the energy. You can get it. So when you try solving, okay, when Schrodinger, when he introduced this expression and when he tried solving it for the microscopic particles, he could actually obtain the approximate value or the exact values for which it was found through experiments. Various experiments were done, whichever experiment was done, and that value which were obtained were equal to his equation. Okay, so he could solve it and find out the solutions as per the requirements. So for the particles or for the electrons, when the wave function is being applied, the probability or finding of an electron according to their energy or maybe according to the amplitude of the wave, those solutions he could obtain. So that is totally based on theoretical concepts. So Schrodinger wave equation or the quantum mechanics, it's totally based on the theoretical concept or the motion of these electrons. So he could give a theoretical concept which contains expressions and solving of mathematical problems. So that was given by Schrodinger. So when this Schrodinger wave equation, when it was solved for the hydrogen atom given by Bohr. So Bohr shows about the line spectrum, the Balmer series and all, and then there were some of the limitations which was not done by Bohr. So instead Schrodinger, what does he do? He solves a wave equation for this hydrogen atom, okay, which was done by Bohr. So when he calculates this, what are the results which were obtained? Let us see that. So it gives the possible energy states that an electron can occupy in an atom. Okay, when this expression was solved as per the hydrogen atom, which contains only one electron, it was found that it gives the possible energy states. So where maybe it is n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, where exactly the electron is being found. So those values could be obtained or solved from this equation. Okay, and these values or the energy state which they obtained after solving the expression, those values were called eigenvalues, okay, which we will be studying about it later in detail. Okay, and wave functions or the energy levels, whichever the energy level was present for an electron to be situated in an atom, those were characterized by three main quantum numbers, which are nothing but principal quantum number, which you have already studied, that is denoted by N, and azimuthal quantum number, which is denoted by L, and magnetic quantum number, which is denoted as ML. Okay, in the subscript you have MM. So these are the main quantum numbers, and from there, when you fill it in the orbital, okay, I will tell you in the next class how to do it. So when you try filling the electrons in each orbital according to these three quantum numbers, you actually get to know where the electron is being situated. Okay, that is the probability what I am talking about. So these wave functions or the energy levels are characterized by three main quantum numbers: principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, and the magnetic quantum number. So this is how the Schrodinger wave equation was solved. So when this equation was solved for multi-electron systems, Now hydrogen had only one electron, so they obtained the particular results. But when it was applied for multi-electron system, okay, it was not exactly possible to find out the values or the solutions, but then we used some appropriate methods for that particular equation itself, or finding out some other expressions from that particular equation itself. He was able to find out the wave functions or the energy levels for multi-electron systems too, which was a limitation by Bohr, but Schrödinger could do it. So that's what is the basis of quantum mechanical model means, and we are only talking about the wave function or the wave-like behavior of these electrons. So let us talk about the important features of this quantum mechanical model right now. As you know, the expression was given and the solutions can be obtained of the wave function as well as the energy levels for an electron to be present in a space within the atom. So let us see what are the important features one by one. First of all, the energy of the electrons are said to be quantized. They cannot be, in a fractional form. There is particular value or there are discrete values for the energies, and that's why they are quantized. Okay, they have definite values, which means that energies can have definite values. So that was the first one, right? And the second one says that quantized energy levels are the direct result of wave-like properties. So we are talking about the wave-like properties which is applied to the Schrödinger wave equation. So whatever the quantized energy levels are being obtained, I told you eigenvalues which are being obtained as solutions of this equation are nothing but the direct results of these wave-like properties. Okay, so wave-like properties applied to the Schrödinger wave equation, and the solutions which you get gives the quantized energy levels. Okay, so this is what the second feature says. Third one, it talks about the most probable regions like orbitals. Now, in an atom, the most probability or the chance of finding an electron, right? So that particular space is said to be the orbital. So this quantum mechanical model, okay, it talks about the space of finding the electron in a maximum way. So how high we have the chance of finding an electron is given by the orbitals. Okay, so this will be more clear when I talk about these orbitals and the particular energy levels in the next class. But for now, orbitals concept is given by quantum mechanical model. Moving on. Atomic orbital is described with the help of a wave function. As I told you, it is described as psi, or the amplitude of the wave, or it is a wave function of psi for an electron. So atomic orbitals is described as the wave function. As we apply the wave concept to the Schrödinger wave equation, the atomic orbitals should be the function of psi itself, right? That is wave function. Okay. And fifth one, the probability of finding an electron at a point. Okay. Now in an atom, the highest chance of finding an electron, okay, at a point within the atom is directly proportional to the square of psi square. That is square of the wave function or the amplitude of the wave. So as you all know, the intensity of the light, it actually depends on the square of the amplitude of the wave. In the same way, the probability of finding an electron within a point in an atom is directly proportional to psi square, and this psi square is called probability density. Okay, how maximum is the chance of finding an electron at that particular point present in an atom. So that is what psi square says. Okay, so the probability of finding an electron at a point within the atom is proportional to the square of the wave function, which is psi square. That psi square is also called the probability density. So totally, what we conclude is that in an atom, the electron or the space where the electron is being found, okay, and that particular space is called the orbital. So maximum chance of finding an electron in the orbits or in the atom is called the orbitals. So this is what we conclude from today's class. So let us wind up the class, children. So see you all in the next class.